we will not hesitate to shut off their power as well. I'm encouraging my fellow premiers to follow suit.
Attention, other premiers. Don't listen to Doug Ford. Don't follow his lead. Don't do what he's doing. Don't say what he's saying.
Okay, let's start with the bourbon from Doug Ford. Let's play this clip. Apparently, the LCBO, according to Doug Ford's claims, although I don't necessarily think this is true, he says the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, where they pay people government wages to do minimum wage jobs as cashiers in liquor stores, and steal wages from new Canadians, because I think new Canadians intrinsically in Alberta, they are the ones that are buying and running the liquor stores. And so you're stealing the entrepreneurial Canadian dream from new Canadians when you have government running your liquor stores. But anyways, Doug Ford is weaponizing the LCBO to remove American products from its shelves.
To support the federal government's efforts, Ontario will also launch its first round of retaliation. Starting today, LCBO, the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world, will begin removing U.S. products from its store shelves. And as the exclusive wholesaler, American brands will no longer be available in LCBO catalog, meaning other retailers, bars, and restaurants in the province will no longer be able to restock U.S. products. This is an enormous hit to the American producers. Every year, the LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of U.S. wine, beer, cider, seltzers, and spirits, including more than 3,600 products from 35 states. As of today, every single one of these products is off the shelves.
Well, I guess if that's the only play you got, that's what you gotta do, Doug. Like if that's the biggest hit, get ready for parties in Ontario to suck, starting now. And don't tell me that bootlegging across the borders is not going to become a really, really popular thing in Ontario, because it shouldn't be up to Canadian consumers if they can pay the 25% tariff. On top of the regular prices to buy a premium American brand. They should be able to do this. I mean, this is such a sort of bush league move by Doug Ford. But do we expect anything other from Doug Ford?
Yeah, I guess we're going back to the days of rum running and whiskey traders. Like this is just so weird.
Yeah.
But I guess if this is all you got, this is all you got. But imagine saying, okay, you're about to be hit with tariffs that are going to make you think about heating or eating. 1 million Canadians are going to lose their jobs. And here's the best I can do. No Kentucky bourbon.
It's the best you could do. And you know what was so interesting about being in Ontario this December, Sheila, because me and Sheila were in Ontario together this last December, is the unavailability of booze. Like I mean, on the prairies, it's
everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's legal in many jurisdictions to be able to drink in public, in outside and do stuff. This is not in Ontario. I mean, it is locked down. We had to walk more than 1 kilometer to get to some crazy little beer garden that was all, like it was just guarded, and it was like, whoa, there's the liquor here. Ontario's not a fun place. Ontario's not a fun or serious place. But I guess, again, going back to what Dud did, when that's the only card you have to play, that's what you're going to play. So go fish.
Every time I'm in Ontario, I'm just bemused at the LCBO. They have these like Taj Mahal stores, unnecessarily large, but I guess if you got all the money in the world, as in everybody else's money, taxpayers' money to build these things, and then people there are making government wages, then they go on strike and you can't get your liquor. And I'm like, in Alberta, new Canadians open up a beer store and it's open till 2 a.m. It's open on the weekends. The booze is affordable. You got a great selection. And I don't know how it happens like that in Ontario. I mean, they seem to be a pretty metropolitan place, except for their prohibition era style of liquor control. But again, I guess it serves Doug Ford's purpose now when he pulls all the bourbon off the shelf. But again, this stuff was already bought and paid for, by the way, by Ontario taxpayers, right?
Right. This
Like,
is just
the
going to go
bourbon
in
is
a warehouse.
Right.
This is just going to get
Right.
stockpiled in a warehouse and be available for the elites. This is what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Like this is the punishment that's being brought down against you. But I guess there is a silver lining there in that if it compels people to drink a little less and make better decisions, then that's not necessarily a bad thing either. But punishing your own residents in Ontario with this, well, that's not a good look. They should have consumer choice too, and if they want to buy and support American brands, that's within their purview. But I think
Yeah.
that'll be an unpopular choice. This is, I would say, this is right up there with David Eby from BC, targeting just red states. Just
Right.
red states. So he's going to go after. He's going to counter all of the products, the services and products coming out of only red states.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's
Like just
helpful too,
again,
right? Like that's real helpful with Trump.
just one adult at the table. We'd be happy with one. Just one
We have
adult at the
Danielle.
table.
We have Danielle,
We
but that's
do.
about it. That's about
Yeah,
it.
we do.
Now, Doug Ford, he also says that he's already informed American politicians that if Trump's tariffs persist, Ontario will apply a 25% surcharge on electricity exports. We will not hesitate to shut off their power as well, the premier adds. I think he said something about he would do it gladly, which is supervillain level stuff. Anyway, let's watch.
I'm writing to every senator, every congressman and woman, and the governors from New York State, Michigan, and Minnesota, telling them that these tariffs persist. If the Trump administration falls through on any more tariffs, we will immediately apply a 25% surcharge on the electricity we export. We will not hesitate to shut off their power as well. I'm encouraging my fellow premiers to follow suit.
Don't attention other premiers. Don't listen to Doug Ford. Don't follow his lead. Don't do what he's doing. Don't say what he's saying. Let this man stand alone in his little piss and match with the biggest swing and you know what in America right now. Let Doug Ford learn this lesson the hard way and let him learn it himself.
Yeah. Yep. I'm an old lady, as I said before. But let me just talk about how Doug Ford is failing as a conservative this time, not all the other times, just this on this one issue, because there are plenty of times where he fails as a conservative. But conservatives know the cheap, reliable electricity is essential to the sustenance of human life. We know that, right? Like the other side is pro-expensive electricity, which makes people it forces them into a situation where they have to choose heat or eat. Now, cutting off, there's one thing to slap a tariff, which will hurt only poor people, because people who are wealthy can survive expensive electricity. But poor people, this is who Doug Ford is targeting right now. Poor Americans are going to be really forced with heating or eating. It's still cold in the Northeast. And this could, if he cuts off electricity exports altogether, cause rolling blackouts and brownouts in the United States. And the reason I pointed out my long in the tooth status is because I remember in 2003, when I think three trees and a computer virus and quite possibly a squirrel, and I'm not even joking there, caused a major blackout in the Northeast. And nearly 100 people died. People were trapped in the subways. Now, this happened in the summer when it was really hot and people couldn't get home. Like, imagine, traffic's already bad in New York. Now, imagine that the traffic lights aren't working and the subways aren't working, and 100 people.
Oh, the elevators.
Yeah, they were trapped in the
elevators weren't working. Like it was.
Hospitals.
It brought New York to its knees. It brought New York to its knees. Nothing happened. There was emergency after calamity after tragedy.
It was like the apocalypse.
It was something to behold, and it really showed the dependence that those super high density populated urban areas have on energy dependence. And what Doug Ford is doing here is
Mhm.
signaling not only like maybe not even an act of hostility, but could be considered an act of war by the United States. When you have critical infrastructure,
Yes.
critical infrastructure that you're threatening to turn the taps off. Oh, I mean, it just doesn't play well. It just doesn't play well. I don't think this is going to work out in Doug Ford's favor or in Ontario's favor. And I just wish that their cooler heads would prevail. I don't think we're going to
Yeah.
get that though with the Premier
Yeah.
in
I mean,
Ontario.
some of the blackout during that time was like anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. The longest places were 29 hours, but it was like the end of the world. It really was. It was, what's that? Anyways,
Like
it was
apocalyptic.
it was
Yeah.
like The Last of Us. Like it was
Yep.
it was crazy, and it happened nearly instantly. And so for people who are a little bit older like me, this is only 20 years ago. What Doug Ford is threatening could jeopardize people's lives. And even if it never happens, and even if he does it and it works out to Ontario's favor, this is what I know about Doug Ford now, is that he will play with people's lives to win for political purposes. And that leaves me with a very sour taste about the kind of man that Doug Ford is. That's what I think.
Yeah. Agreed. I have nothing more to add. Agreed. Seconded. Carried.
Thank
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.